I wanted to ask you, because this is something I'm interested in. Like, what's a piece of advice that you find yourself giving to leaders, like constantly, like over and
Yeah.
over and over again, regardless of like industry, whether it's military or not?
Yeah. So I have a client that if they watch this, they're gonna laugh just hearing it. Probably the most common one, because we've said it a lot lately, is just to slow down and breathe and
Mm,
think and give yourself the space, which there isn't always time for it. But I had a leader who worked for me and I get to work with now, who literally would have a schedule time on his schedule for thinking. And it was like no distractions, no interruptions. He's not signing things, he's not doing things. That 15 minutes, they were small blocks of time,
mm,
was just to open up. I do the digital notebook because I'm a whiteboard person. There's a
yep.
whiteboard right here outside of the screen. And it's like just empty slate. What's in there working that you're working through, just giving yourself time to think. Some people call it strategizing. To me, it's just slowing down enough to reflect, especially as a leader, before you speak in the presence of the people you are leading. And
Mm.
I've talked to people recently, and you go, it's as simple in a meeting as going, I'm going to take 2 breaths before I open my mouth and let words out, and see if anybody else has words that come out, and maybe put a quick thought to mine. And it took me a while to realize, and I learned the hard way several times, um, that when I open my mouth first, you're shutting people down. And you're
Mhm.
either making them go, oh gosh, I don't know enough. They just said something I didn't believe, which means I just must not know what I need to speak up. Or, oh, well, that's what they want. So I better shut up and color because they said the thing. And even if you're
Mhm.
just brainstorming, because I think out loud a lot, and a lot of leaders do that, a lot of people do that. And it's like, as a leader, you really have to be mindful and purposeful with how you enter a conversation, with how you facilitate a conversation, and sometimes very stubbornly force it away from you long enough to see what's out there,
Mhm.
because you can't take that back once you shut it down. And you're not meaning to, you're
Right.
doing it in this beautiful open way. And then sometimes you can start to see the eyes and go, there's stuff there and they're not saying it now. Like, what did I do?
Mhm.
Um, so I think it's just being mindful of that inherent, doesn't matter who you are. You could be the best person. You could create the best culture. People could trust you, and your words still kind of carry a weight that slows people down and keeps them from bringing their best selves sometimes, or just makes them hesitate. And then you're losing something, because inherently the 20, 40, 100 people sitting in front of you collectively, they know more than you, and their perspectives are going to paint a better picture than yours is on its own. So you
Mhm.
need that first.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny enough, like I've been in the meetings where, you can look at people, look across, and you can see that people have
Oh yeah.
ideas or they're thinking
Yeah.
things. And
Yep.
then, that leader, whether it's a commander or a platoon sergeant or a first sergeant, speaks up. And then it's
Oh yeah.
almost like the room collectively goes, "Oh, that's what he said. That's what she said.
Hmm.
That's it."
Yeah.
Even though you can tell that like there's a lot
Oh
that's
yeah.
left on the
You
table
can
that
see
we
it.
haven't even gotten to. But
Yeah.
because to your point, if
Hmm.
you're not even aware of the power of your own voice or your position or your role, you
Hmm.
could
Yeah.
unintentionally silence people,
Oh yeah.
not even knowing it. So no,
Hmm.
I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. And I think it's important to realize that it's not always you. Like, you walk into a culture, military, you're changing over so much. So it's very evident, but
Hmm.
it's out there in industry as well. And coaching has really, made me realize how, everybody is dealing as a leader with these same issues.
Hmm.
Whatever came before you and whatever culture was already there and whatever's going on beneath you is affecting that as well. And you can't control that. And I think it's just something to slow down and be mindful of. And um yeah, thinking about how you enter a room, how you lead, and how you create the culture where people are willing to challenge you, and your people are invited to challenge you. And that's how I gained that perspective. Is there were people that pulled me aside and went, "Man, you need to shut up for a minute," and respectfully, and well, all the worst phrase in the world, with all due respect, you need
Yeah.
to stop talking at the beginning of the meetings. And I think I had a chief that did that with me once. I've had several first sergeants do it, and they go, you know, that silence is not agreement. That silence is them feeling like you already had the answer. And I realized the
Mhm.
same thing in a technical career field. I've talked to a lot of clients about this as well. When you're in a career field of any sort, whether it be maintenance or comm equipment or medical or whatever, where you do know a lot of technical things or you're more senior. I spent over 10 years on the same aircraft, so I knew a lot. And
Hmm.
I realized they would stop explaining things to me or stop really having engaging conversations because it was like, well, she knows this stuff already. And I
Hmm.
had to be like, find ways to crack that back open, because some of it was we all trusted each other too much technically, which meant we weren't getting in and challenging each other because we just were assuming past each other that we already knew more. and
Hmm.
and that's a very dangerous and slippery slope too. So it's not always a negative culture or toxic. Sometimes it's just, man, if we're not checking each other and checking our blind spots, um, we're getting worse, not better.